you booktubers out there, have you ever started talking about book and then realized that you didn't hit the record button? I'm watching Suki have a really good time with something on the floor. And that's what's so funny about it, because it's just something on the floor. She's hanging around because I'm here. Anyway, all right. What have I been up to? I want to tell you what I've been up to. I read a couple books, and I'm here to talk about them almost for the second time since I didn't hit the record button. Maybe I'll just be more succinct this time. All right, this book, Suite for Barbara Loden, S-U-I-T-E. I'm still not sure where that comes from. Reading this book, I might have missed that point, but this is a sweet little book made by the Dorothy Project, which is like a derivative of another publisher, but I don't remember who the publisher is. But they also put out Amina Cain's A Horse at Night on Writing. This is going to be forgettable for me. It's translated, so it's by Natalia Legier, translated from the French by Natasha Lear something. I can't see who the translator is, unfortunately. Anyway, it's about Barbara Loden, who was an American, I think? Yeah, an American actress, and she also directed the movie Wanda. And she starred in that movie. Wanda is based on a real woman or a composite of women. And I just learned about Barbara Loden, and I just learned about the movie Wanda by looking on the Criterion channel, which is like a movie buff channel that I was exploring. This book is about, I think it's autofiction by Natalie Legier. She was asked to do a film encyclopedia entry for Wanda or for Barbara Loden, and she wanted to know more about why Barbara Loden based this movie on a real person. She did some investigating into Wanda herself, but I don't know. It's fine enough. All right, let's get to the real deal, which is jhumpa lahari. I discovered jhumpa lahari by reading Interpreter of Maladies, which the booktuber Charles at Seesop turned me onto because it's one of his favorite. And I love the way he was talking about it. I checked it out. I loved it. This is her new little novel, and it's just about an unnamed narrator living in an Italian town, and we just go through her daily life. It's broken down into chapters, written in Italian. Oh, by the way, jhumpa lahari wrote this in Italian because she's moved to Italy, and then she translated it to English, so she's her own translator. So it's broken down into things like on the sidewalk, at the trattoria, in my head, in the bookstore, on the balcony. So it's a really quiet book. But if you know anything about jhumpa lahari, it's through her expert writing that you learn more about this narrator. You learn as she's interacting with the world, as she's interacting with people, either that she knows or doesn't know. You learn about her family, her mother, her and her mother's relationship, her childhood a little bit, her past relationship, things like that. It's just dribbled in, but not explicitly. It's revealed in this expert writing. I love it that Suki is scratching on an actual scratch post, which has almost never happened. So that's pretty amazing. I've marked a couple pages just to give you an idea of her writing. I don't know if this will come across. So she's going to her normal sandwich stand. She gets her sandwich that she gets all the time. It hardly costs anything. I look for a place to sit and find a spot in the playground where they deal drugs at night. But at this time of day, it's bursting with kids, parents, dogs. But today, I don't feel even slightly alone. I hear the babble of people as they chatter on and on. I'm amazed at our impulse to express ourselves, explain ourselves, tell stories to one another. The simple sandwich I always get amazes me too. As I eat it, as my body bakes in the sun that pours down on my neighborhood, each bite, feeling sacred, reminds me that I'm not forsaken. In bed. So she's talking about how when she reads at night before she goes to bed, she's lulled to sleep by the sound, the vague sound of the traffic in a condo or apartment building in the street below. And if she wakes up in the middle of the night, she doesn't have that traffic sound. It's just black quietness, and it is very hard for her to fall back to sleep. My sleep grows lighter and lighter, and then it abandons me entirely. I wait until anyone drives by. The thoughts that come to roost in my head in those moments are always the gloomiest, also the most precise. That silence, combined with the black sky, takes hold over me until the first light returns and dispels those thoughts, until I hear the presence of lives passing by along the road below me. So this is the mood of this book. It doesn't have a plot. It's just beautiful writing. Then this book, I'm still digesting this experience, because it was an experience. It caused a lot of tension, I guess. And that was a weird space for me to be in. I didn't enjoy being in the space of this person. So it did get a reaction out of me, that's for sure. I mean, I think it's written well for that reason. I don't know if I want to be reading books like this all the time, but I did have an experience. So this is My Husband, written by Maud Ventura, translated by Emma Ramadan from The Friend. This is a debut novel, and it's about a woman who is admittedly obsessed by her husband, the love for her husband. And so we know this going in. She admits it. She tells nice stories about when they first met and their wedding. And as you go on, page by page, you realize, is she a reliable narrator? Is she even entirely sane? You start to see crack in the veneer, but you wonder, like, all right, so she's a little quirky. But then as the story goes on, is she just a little quirky? Is this going to turn into like a horror story? That's the tension. Like, oh my God, this woman is obsessed to the nth degree. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because I went in really blind. And that was the fun of this book. I will say, because this is the discussion I want to have, what did other people think? And what do you think about the ending? I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm going to say that it's weird. The ending is weird. And I don't know if I like it or not. So yeah, if you're looking for, like, this would be perfect to read at the beach, on a plane. It's very propulsive. I read this so fast. I mean, over a couple days. All right. Okay. I am reading another translated fiction, and it's Long Live the Posthorn by Vigdis Hjorth, Norwegian author. I read not her first book. I read her latest book, which is Mother Dead? That was so good. Very uncomfortable. It really made me uncomfortable. So I was drawn to, I have to read another one. And I picked up this one. I know that she has another one called Will and Testament. The Posthorn has something to do with the postal system in Norway. And I got to page 57, and I thought, I don't know, another sad, semi-depressed young woman, not really, just distant from her, probably fine relationship with her boyfriend, not really feeling it at work. She works for a PR firm. I don't know if I don't care the way that I did care in the other book. But I do like her writing. It's so sparse, but it's poignant, but in a sparse way. So I kept reading. I thought, all right, I'll read to page 100. And then if I still don't care, fine. And yeah, it moves on from this whole scenario in the beginning, because something happens at her work where she has to take over a project that the boss, the owner of this little PR firm, had been working on, and that's the postal directive, which is about the government wanting to pass a directive to say that non-union people can deliver mail, and this will save the whole system money. And how she starts to work with the union in place of the boss that's now not around, how she works with the union, which is so dry. All of this is so dry, but then it unfolds. It just completely unfolds. And this is unexpected, not only to us, the reader, but it's also unexpected to her. And I don't remember her name. I have folded pages, even though it's a library book. So she starts talking to individual postal workers. There's a whole story that unfolds, a story that a postal worker tells about how he's delivering mail and in remote regions, and what happens when they can't identify a piece of mail. And he went down a rabbit hole with this one particular set of letters to an individual that didn't live in the area, and how through just diligence he solved the mystery, which ended up being life-changing for someone. I'm not giving anything away to say that, because the beauty is in all the details around that story. And at one point when she's interviewing him, he says, if you want an easy life, all you have to do is make yourself insignificant. Believe in one thing today, another tomorrow, and something completely different by the end of the week. Turn yourself into several people and parcel yourself out. Have one anonymous opinion and another in your own name, one spoken, one written, one on the internet, another in the shop, and a third as a lover, yet another as a PR consultant or as a private individual, and another with postcom. And then all your troubles will go away. You'll see. And he's talking about how easy it is to live life on a very surface level and not be engaged, and then how certain important experiences, and this is connected with the postman story, can open you up to a much richer life. But it doesn't take that much. It just takes another way of looking at things. And that scene between the individual she's talking to and the main character is beautiful. It's just such a wonderful part in the book. I don't know whether I'll have further thoughts about this, because I am speechless. Like I'm not done with it yet. I'm almost done. It is highly recommended by me to check this out. I feel like this is as emotional, as emotive as her other book I read is Mother Dead, but in a completely different way. And it starts off so dry up until page 57 and a little bit beyond, and then it just unfolds. So really, really happy I kept on going. And then I am almost done. I'm almost done with Framley Parsonage. Finally, this has been the driest of all the books in the Anthony Trollope Barsetshire Chronicles series. And let's see, The Warden 1, Barchester Towers 2, Dr. Thorne 3, this one 4. This was hanging me up, and I wasn't getting through it at all, because it's got a lot of like religious community politics, but then it's got a set of men that have debts, and I couldn't gain any momentum, and I didn't want to read it. And I started listening to it on audio when I was out with Suki for a couple minutes every day, and that really gave me some momentum. And then I just started skipping some of the chapters on the debt thing. And I would just read like the first part of the chapter, and I would read the end of the chapter, and I would think, is this moving the story along for me? Did I miss anything? It doesn't feel like it. And I just kept on reading. And that's how I got back into the momentum. And I'm really glad I did that, because otherwise this would still be sitting somewhere and I would have completely given up on the series. But it does have a plot line in it that's fun. So it is worth reading. I highly recommend that, but I skipped some of those dry chapters that are about those debts and numbers and weird things. And the other thing is, I don't like this book. I don't like this style of book. You know, when I look at Barchester Towers, this beautiful black penguin, all of these I got used, but this one just happened to be in really nice condition. I don't mind breaking the spines. I have no idea how I read this and didn't break a spine, though. That's so weird. But I ordered the other book also used, but they're these black penguins, and I don't know, I just like the way that they feel, and this was just so small. The writing is so small. Anyway, I'm almost done. And I just started Ethan Frome, because it's a book that I own, used from the thrift store, and I decided I wanted to read an Edith Wharton this year. This is a tiny one, a good place to start for me, and it's an interesting one on the back. It's really interesting. A classic novel of despair, forbidden emotion, and sexual undercurrents set against the austere New England countryside. It's got a wonderful introduction, which I just semi-read because I didn't want to spoil it. And then it's actually got an introduction by Edith Wharton herself. Really cool. So I'm going in not knowing much, just knowing like there's some relationship funky things, and I'm really looking forward to it. Then from the library, here's what I'm looking forward to. The Vet's Daughter, another Barbara Cummins. I haven't read, the only thing I've read by Barbara Cummins are Spoons, came from Woolworths, and I have to admit, I don't even remember much about that book. So The Nennequich. So The Nenoquich is a McNally's Editions republishing of a novel that came out in 1982 by Henry Bean. I don't know anything about this author or anything about the book. It just showed up, I think, in the New Yorker. It first came out, when it was first published, it came out as being called False Match. Now it's called The Nenoquich. And Nenoquich is an ancient Mexican word for lifelong loser. That's what it says in the description. Set in the 1970s, it's about Harold, a writer. It's about an affair in Berkeley, unsparing, painful, and often funny. It's a story of fading illusion. Harold is a wannabe writer on the skids. Yeah, that sounds amazing. I forgot. I have one other book to tell you about that I don't have with me, but hold on, because I'm gonna go get it, because it's like the best one that I've read so far in this group of books that I have. I'll be right back. Okay, back with the book. This might be one of the top books that I read this year. It's Alfred Hayes. I know, I don't know who he is either. My Face for the World to See. The title has nothing to do with the book. It even says it in here, the person doing the introductions. I learned about Alfred Hayes by watching a video by Pato, who I'll link below. There was an Alfred Hayes book he read. I think it's called In Love, because Alfred Hayes is a poet, he's a screenwriter, and he wrote a couple books. And this is about a guy who is on the beach in Hollywood or LA, and a young woman walks onto the beach from a house that's having a party. Guesses is set in the 70s or 80s, and she's tipsy and goes into the ocean, and he has to save her because she's drunk. And they start a relationship, but after a while, they're both just like down on their luck and helping each other. He has a wife in another town and they're separated. Razor sharp observation, but a poet's sensibility, sentence structure, rhythm, syntax. Yeah, that's my experience of this book. I almost didn't care about the plot. I mean, the plot's interesting. It gets even more interesting as it goes along. But I just wanted to be reading Alfred Hayes. So I'm definitely going to read the other book too. Hayes is the dry poet of the things we think about while lying in bed when sleep refuses to carry us off. So the first night that these two spend with each other, the girl, young lady, falls asleep, and he had seen her sleeping and felt like, nobody sleeps like that. Like, you're weird. And then he calls her because she's gone in the morning, and she said, you know, you're kind of scary when you're sleeping. And he was like, what are you talking about? In your sleep, don't you know? You screamed out several times and cursed, and then once you began to cry. You seemed to be suffering, and it was awful. There must be someone or something you hate very much. The person that's doing the introduction to this book says, it's such an economical revelation, economical, in the use of just the expressions and the words, and the proof that no one knows enough in the Hayes world. I could have just tagged this whole book. That's how good it is to me. What a reading experience. I have to get on to his other book, but I'm saving it because you know how we save books when we love authors. That's it. That's all I have. Thanks for hanging in there with me on this semi-combobulated thing. I want to know your thoughts about any of these things that I mentioned, and let me know what you're reading. I'd love to hear. Join in on the conversation, and I hope to see you on the next one.